Hello once more, fellow strugglers with logic. I received a text the other day that was in Spanish, "Te iba a decir," I was going to say. Then it proceeded to tell me what he was going to tell me, but hadn't told me, thereby, in the act, telling me. So there wasn't really much need for the "I was going to say" at the beginning. It's kind of self-referential. In philosophy, you could put this in the bracket of what are called performative utterances, and the go-to philosopher here and coiner of that term is jaunty Cambridge wit J.L. Austin, who specialised in language, and he made the distinction between constative and performative utterances. Let's get jargony here, and we'll use the philosophical slang there. Utterances, things said. Now, a constative utterance, also known as your common or garden everyday thing that people say, "It's raining," that kind of thing, is subject to truth or falsehood. Could be true, could be false. But this other kind of utterance, almost in a magical way, the way that God first was the Word, these are little pieces of our lives where the actual utterance is the thing. You order somebody, you promise to do things, you apologise. And in the same bag we could put warnings, judges sentencing criminals, priests marrying couples, or christening, and you might also include bequeathing and betting, depending on the circumstances. Wait, what are the circumstances? Well, not just any old person can marry somebody, so you need an authority, and reasonably enough, the content of the utterance should be understandable, clear, and possible, should be something that's able to be done. So there's Austin's groundwork, and all for what? Well, the focus of this little philosophy is some recent Facebook stuff, in which I've noticed a certain trend. There's a kind of movement now based on altruism, perhaps you could say it's based on equity, based on some kind of global agreement of morals, I don't know. One of the favoured slogans is "Be kind," which is great. But I do find it jars very often with the content of that person's Facebook page, where among all the well-meaning spiritual advice, couched in mystical terms, you will find the odd outbreak of pure venom and hatred. But it will be against the right people, you see, or the right ideology. So that hatred is okay. However, let's say you're like me and you're outside looking in, and after a while, you find that the people who utter the "be kind" utterance, while seeming to make a command, a sort of Kantian universal, if only everyone did this, wouldn't the world be a better place? And we assume that the person doing the order is believable, reliable, not do as I say, not do as I do, then we must logically conclude that that person is kind. Yet, isn't it in a way also saying, "Look at me, how kind I am"? We do live in an age where a kind of narcissism seems to have crept upon us, and I've commented on this before in the dissolution of the public and the private spheres, and also in my little dip into postmodernism, the way that reality is beginning to be distorted. Words, of course, change anyway. Words change over the millennia. The shadows that the words throw, they're the interesting ones. The Bolsheviks, that means the majority party. But they weren't the majority party. They just sort of invented themselves as the majority party and later came to be the majority party. In a bad Jacobin sort of way. Zizek wrote an article in issue 159 of Philosophy Now, December of last year, which was pretty good, I have to say. He sets himself a high bar, but there was a lot of insight in the article to keep me interested. The article is called "Saying, Keeping Silent and Showing," and he makes a similar point, rather cleverly using the words of Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov, whose utterance seemed to be holding out an olive branch for discussions, for talks. When you listen to the actual words, "Moscow is prepared for discussions concerning Ukraine, providing they take into account the situation on the ground and Russia's security interests," which he suggests is politics speak for don't bother coming to, in inverted commas, talk unless you already agree to what we want. And his other example, let me quote him here: "I can easily imagine Hegel having a repeated intellectual orgasm when bringing out the brackets for him brackets obvious reality of the reversing of inclusivity and diversity into a procedure for systematic exclusion. So in Wittgensteinian terms, while cancel culture speaks about diversity and inclusion, uses those words, it shows and displays a stance of extreme exclusion. There's a very Zizekian sentence follows this. Such an inversion of inclusion into exclusion also obeys a deep Hegelian dialectical reversal, namely the transposition of an external threat into immanent antagonism. Ah, Zizek. Love him or be bemused by him. Or, in my case, amused. You'll see that the issue he's addressing in this is not exactly what Austin was talking about in performative utterances. It's almost an inversion of it, isn't it? Whereby, by uttering phrases such as be kind, you're not being kind. Oh, those slogans, eh? It's a nice idea to encapsulate protest movements' goals into a nice, pithy, memorable utterance. But some of them, these days, put me a little bit on my guard. One group puts up no debate as their slogan. That's pretty much the opposite of what I think. And during the Me Too movement, we were treated to the marvellous believe all women. Let's just pause for a minute and think what the world would be like if we believed